help it. I love people, and I miss seeing real faces and interactions. And it's so funny because, when you're in the moment, it's like, oh, I'm tired. I don't really want to go to this event. And looking back, it's really what I miss the most, because once you're out and about and you're working with people, it's really amazing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Casandra Properties podcast. We are going to continue our series this week that we are working on in conjunction with the SIEDC as a way to highlight Women's History Month. We are bringing in different executives from the community that are powerhouses in their own right and have been a big part of the fabric of Staten Island. We're joined today, as we often are, by our wonderful, lovely guru, Rebecca. Hey,
Hi.
Rebecca.
Hello.
And we're joined by Pamela Columbia, who we learned as we were starting. We knew that she was an executive in 2 companies, but we found out that she's an executive in 3 companies from Statewide Fire Corp. And we'll get into the other 2 companies as we go on throughout the show. Pamela, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
And Kimberly Althoff, who is the Vice President and District Executive at Santander Bank. So with that, I thought it would be neat to share with the audience that we have 3 native Staten Islanders on one podcast, which we're a dying breed. So I love it that we're representing Staten Island, and really appreciate you guys joining us today. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Pamela, if we can, we'll start with you.
Sure.
So you are involved in the ownership and or executive structure of 3 different companies. That must be quite a whirlwind life. Can you talk a little bit about the roots of the companies? I know that there's family interest there, and then we can get into how you came to be where you are today.
Sure. I mean, there's so many years behind it, but I could give you a quick summary. My dad started APB Security in the 70s, which is a burglar alarm company. He quit the police department to start this firm. Started working with him at a very young age, just filing, just the basics, answering phones. Really developed a love for business. But I was going to school to become a teacher. That was really my original passion because, back then in the 80s when I was little, there wasn't as much focus on different opportunities for women and the different jobs that really existed. So as I was working for him, going to school, the opportunity came along to purchase a central station. So basically that's the company that monitors alarm systems and sends the police department. My brother wanted to head that up. He's always been very good at technology. So I invested some money alongside, and that was kind of going to be his company. And then I just kept working in both, loved it. And the opportunity came along to start a separate New York City fire division, which for commercial buildings within the 5 boroughs, it's pretty strict. You need certain licenses and you need your company set up a certain way to be able to do so. So I decided to leave what I thought would be a teaching career and join the family business and, have ownership myself in Statewide. So Statewide Fire is my company. My brother is a partner with me as well. Statewide Monitoring is his company. I'm a partner. And my dad also semi-retired. And because my brother and I worked so long in his company, and that was really our roots, he brought us in and we're partners in APB as well. So there's a lot going on, but all good things. We're doing well during this pandemic still, we're very fortunate.
So self-described in one of the bios, we said your favorite title is mom. So how is it that you're juggling, the 3 careers and of course, most important being mom? That's got to be, I watched my mother as I grew up. I also grew up in the business, right? I watched mom go out and open up a real estate firm in 1989. Same thing, being, a really aggressive, progressive, smart, spitfire young lady. There weren't many opportunities in the traditional sense as we think about it today and we think about how foreign that may seem, but for her, it was a real challenge. So for you coming up through the ranks. I wonder what type of unique challenges did you face as you kind of fell into these roles?
It's so hard, but as soon as you mention my children and being a mom, just tears fill up because, we try our best to make them happy. They're really the priority. But I've been really fortunate. Listen, I'm married to a fireman. We're high school sweethearts, and he's just such a great guy. And I think, behind every strong woman is a strong man if you're lucky. He really has helped me over the years. My children are 6 and 4. He supports me. He's the one who cooks dinner, and having him as my rock really enables me to feel less guilt, because it's not as though I'm always leaving them with people I'm not comfortable with. They get great time with their dad, great time with their mom. And, don't forget, as a business owner, yes, you're pulled away a lot, and you don't see your children maybe as much as you want to, but you also are able to do things that you may not be able to do if you work for someone else. I really never miss an event when it comes to my children. Obviously now things are a little bit sadder in the event world as far as plays and stuff, but anything they're involved in, I try to be a part of. They used to come to my office all the time, not as much now because it's a little bit crazier and you have to be more careful. But you know what? I do the best I can, and I'm almost 40 now. I think in my early 20s, I was more intimidated. I wasn't as confident in my choices. But now it's, I'm doing the best I can. And at the end of the day, as long as my children are happy and I know I'm working hard, in my business and to be a good mom, then that's really all I can ask for.
That's pretty remarkable. Kimberly, so there's a lot of choices for banking today, right? Can you talk a little bit about what it means to be a part of the Santander family, and what are some of the disruptors? What makes your bank different than some of the other banks that we could choose from?
Well, thank you, James. So, Santander is something I'm really proud of being part of. Been with the company for 18 years and loved every single minute of it. And the culture that we bring is about being there for our customers in ways that maybe they didn't think we could help them, helping them get on the consumer side as well as business customers get to their goals, and really building long-lasting relationships, and not just selling products, right? We want to really be there in the right way. And, my entire career, I've spent it on Staten Island. I take a lot of pride in the business customers and the consumer customers that we help each and every single day. And I take a lot of pride in the team that we've built here to support them, and the passion that each and every one of us bring to our customers every day.
So in your title, it includes district executive. What exactly does that mean?
So I oversee the 18 locations that we have on Staten Island.
Wow.
So my district is the Staten Island market, and I help support my managers and give them the skill that they need to be there for their entire team as well as their customers.
So 18 locations seems dizzying to even think about managing 18 locations, where we just opened up a branch in Pennsylvania, and we're about to open up a branch in New Jersey. That seems like an overwhelming task to manage 18 different branches. Is there anything in your childhood or in your past? I mean, how did you fall into banking? Like, what was the connection for you?
So, something that is interesting, I never thought I was going to be a banker. I actually went to beauty school and was going a totally different path. But one thing that I loved was people. And I loved the conversations that I would have with people and being there for them. And whether I was a hairdresser or a banker, those conversations were very similar, and just trying to help them feel good. And then when I started really spending some time in banking, I realized that the way I could help not only my peers, but my customers, like that brought the passion out for me. And then as I developed and grew in my career and went down the management route, being able to help my employees grow in their careers and watch them start as a teller and then grow all the way up into management roles and sometimes even back office roles, it really is a big driver for me. And when I can see how I change customers and employees' lives, that makes me smile at the end of the day.
So I have a quick question. Do you mind, James, if I step in? So you mentioned the beauty school thing, which is funny because I actually started beauty school too, and then realized that was not the career for me, but I gave it a go. Did you finish and then decide to move on into something else? Or was it something like so you actually went all the way through and decided?
So when I was 18, I started working at Santander. So don't try to do the math on me, but the moment I could work in the bank, I did. And I wanted some benefits while I went to school, finished school, and then actually worked in Park Slope as a hairdresser for 4 years. And then 3 days a week at the bank. So working 7 days a week, multitasking, trying to figure out that career path and where I wanted to go, until I had gotten engaged and said that stabilization in the banking world was really where I wanted to focus and commit to.
So for you, it sounds like the banking career was as much about personal connections as it was the banking industry. And Santander has a track record of building those relationships. So, we have a business coach that we use now, Lions Pride, Chad Reyes and Danielle, shout out to them. Have had such a great impact on our company and our personal lives. And they taught us, so let me try not to screw this up. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So for me, I've always been kind of a straightforward, head down, work kind of guy my whole career. And as social media began to play a big part in real estate, right? We woke up one day and all of a sudden you had to be as much of a marketer as you had to be a deal maker. And I've always been a deal maker. I'm a deal guy. And I started using the platform to get the message out and, make predictions in the market. And we've made some really cool predictions that have rung true and hopefully outside of our immediate client base, people have listened and they've had an opportunity to monetize that or capitalize that. But it was frustrating for me because as these, you make these predictions and things that I would agonize over, right? I'm now going to go on record and I'm going to talk about the next hot market. I'm going to predict where interest rates are going to go. I'm going to talk about what asset classes we should be divesting from and we should be getting involved in. That's something I take really, really seriously. So we'd be making these posts and things would be falling in line the way we had hoped. And the viewership on like those really profound tidbits of information was like here. And then me playing with my puppy was like here. So we went and we got a social media coach, J-Man, another just awesome consultant we've worked with.
Yes.
And he started to explain something that really, it didn't connect for me. I've always cared. I care profoundly for my clients, but I've showed it in a different way. And when we started to highlight kind of the softer side of who I was and what we were in the company, the connections just started to happen more and more down the line. So in the banking world where, we're trusting our banks, right? With our hard-earned money, we're trusting them with relationships, we're trusting them with our finances and mortgages. I suspect that is like up there in the core values for Santander.
Yeah, that personal connection, it means the world. And I expect my team to know about their children, their pets, their grandparents, everything, right? And not only the financial advice, but to really have that feel good moment with all their customers. Because that makes the difference, right? You can go on any corner and find a bank. You drive up Amboy, you probably hit, 15 banks in 5 minutes, right? So what's going to make us stand out? And it's the people that we have working for us and the difference that they really do care and they're genuine. And that's a big deal.
So if we can jump over Pamela in one of the bios. It describes that you're a certified SIA central station operator and instructor, and it speaks to how you personally are still involved in the training of all of the personnel, including operators. Can you talk a little bit about that and talk about what customer service and that kind of connection means for your business?
Sure. Some of the lingo changed a little bit in our industry, but to be honest, I mean, customer service is really number one when it comes to what we do. So basically, we have our central station where we monitor, let's say, around 50,000 accounts throughout the country. That's
50,000?
statewide monitoring. 50,000.
Wow.
And that's commercial, residential. We're licensed in all states. And, you're dealing with very different people from all over different states. And then you have statewide fire, which we have about 7,000 in New York City. So it's about 20% of all of the approved accounts of New York City, because not many companies are able to provide that service. And, you don't want to do anything wrong. And as the owner, I take it very personally. If somebody makes a mistake, if somebody doesn't do their job correctly, we're dealing with life safety, so it's not only important to be courteous, but obviously to be efficient and to do things correctly. So something that, you struggle with when you first go into business, but something I've learned to do very well is to delegate efficiently and accurately. So my team that I have in place, we have all different managers, and we have a training manager, we have an operations manager, a scheduling manager, a technology manager. And, when you're able to let go of control, which for me can be very difficult, but if you find the right person to let go of control too, I think everything flows naturally. So, having my background in teaching has enabled me to make sure that everyone is being trained correctly. So while I may not necessarily train each operator from the start, I oversee the entire process. And honestly, I'm very hands-on. I like to listen to calls, when I'm in the office, hear what's going on, run different reports on stats to make sure we're efficient and that the time is accurate in our dispatches. So I take it really personally. And honestly, if a client or an alarm installer is ever upset, I love, getting to the root of the problem and correcting it, not making excuses. I'm huge on solutions and not harping on problems, but learning how to make your company better and your people better and you better as a business owner.
So
That's great.
50,000 accounts. How big of an operation is statewide fire? How big of an operation is that?
So statewide monitoring and statewide fire collectively, we have about 60 employees. And the majority of them work for, both firms wherein they dispatch for New York City Fire and burglar and fire alarms throughout the country. And we have a separate location. My brother actually lives in South Carolina. So we have another central station. He just moved there about a year ago, so it's still newer. The majority of our employees are here. But we wanted to just have another area. We have some backup facilities, but to have an additional facility with more staff out of New York State, we thought would be really beneficial.
So is it a matter of, so APB seems to be pretty clear, right? It's security systems.
Right.
For the two fire companies, was it like a vertical integration where it was another piece in the food chain that you wanted to provide that service, or is there a crossover and it was just a geographical issue?
Yeah, so APB is self-explanatory, like you said, and that's really my baby in so many ways, even though I'm the baby of it. And what we did was when I invested and my brother was going to head up statewide monitoring, the more I became involved and really loved business and being an entrepreneur, I just really saw a future. And same as Kimberly, I was working so many jobs when I started statewide fire. So I was still subbing, tutoring, coaching, cheerleading at Wagner College, anything I could do working in APB to get going. You're working 7 days a week to really start what you really love because you're looking toward your future. But we saw the need, for New York City fire alarm monitoring. It's such a small area that not many companies are involved in. So, when I decided to head that up and make that, my company and move forward with it. It was a really great opportunity because there's only about 20 other companies in the nation that's able to do that for New York City.
So I would assume that there's like an extraordinarily high level of licensing or oversight, right? Because considering these are people's lives, is that accurate?
Very accurate. The fire department is very involved. They have inspections on our company, a lot of paperwork required. All of our operators have to have a certain certification, which again goes back to the training to make sure we're staying on top of that. But, it's interesting because my husband's a fireman, so our jobs are so related. He'll respond to jobs that we dispatched on. And it really puts things into perspective because you want to keep everyone safe, the firemen, the people in the building, the property. So, you take it really to heart at the end of the day, and you want to make sure everyone's doing a good job.
I mean, I'm legitimately getting anxiety hearing you describing that your husband would be responding to fires potentially that you're dispatching from. That has to be difficult.
It's interesting because if I see a major fire, there's two concerns. Is it in my husband's area? He's in Brooklyn. Is it a fire we dispatched on? Did we do everything correctly? But I will say the good news is, the industry now, the fire alarm industry is so amazing. If you compare it to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, even 5 years ago, there's so many new laws and improvements they're making so that when we do dispatch on these fires, it's quickly, firemen aren't responding to, hopefully, if it's protected correctly, if it's an approved system, they're not responding to as enormous of a fire as maybe they would have before these laws existed. So the fire alarm industry in New York is pretty solid. They're doing a great job with it.
So that's an interesting perspective. So many times we have small business owners on and they talk about how New York City, as wonderful of a place as it is to live and own a business, some of the major challenges for them are legislative threats and the constant changing of laws. But you feel that over the last several years, the bureaucracy has actually moved forward with an agenda that's provided a safer environment?
Sure. I mean, listen, on the HR side, it's certainly difficult to have a business in New York State, New York City. We all know that there's a lot to comply with and to really stay on top of. But as far as the fire department of New York City, I mean, the department they have is really on top of things and always trying to add more to the law to really protect people and buildings and property. So I appreciate it as a wife of a fireman and as a business owner in this industry.
That's amazing. I think what's really interesting is that, Pamela, both you and Kimberly brought up the fact of working multiple jobs to start. I feel like people always see you at the top and don't necessarily recognize. I know I've seen memes and things about it of not seeing what you've done to get to the top. And I think overall, people sometimes just associate that with men, but as women, we have to work equally, if not harder at times to make our way to the top. And I just think that was an interesting thing that you pointed out, that you both, had to do the exact same thing to get where you are today. Also, Pamela, we saw that in 2005, you won the Make Mine a Million business program founded by Open from American Express. I know there's only like a handful of WBEs that have ever cracked the $1 million in annual revenue. So can you tell us what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite times. I was in my 20s, pretty new in the business, and it's intimidating. It's a very male-dominated industry. You first come in, a lot of people associated me with my dad or my brother. It was hard in the beginning. So they started this movement. This woman, Nell Merlino, the woman who started Take Your Daughter to Work Day. I mean, years ago, I used to go to work with my dad regardless, but she started this movement saying, hey, let's help women. There's not many women business owners that really not profit $1 million, but build their company to get over $1 million in gross sales. So that was the first year, 2005, that they had a contest in the tri-state area, and there were 5 winners, including myself. And I got access to credit lines. They flew us to Washington, D.C. We got to go to the Capitol building. I mean, it was really amazing. And for me to kind of just break out of my shell a little bit and meet these really amazing women in New York City that had a little bit more experience than I did. And I looked at a lot of them as mentors. It was really wonderful. It was a good group.
That's fantastic. Good for you.
That had to take a special personality, as you describe, trying to break into a business and kind of step out from a shadow and a male-dominated business to go and seek, I guess, is that how it worked? Did you enter to be a part of this thing? Did you go seek this opportunity out?
Make Mine a Million business?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually the SIDC, there was a woman that worked there at the time, Helen Tevet, and I started in their women's program. And she had called me and she said, there's this opportunity. I think you would be great. So I said, all right, why not? I'll apply. And we had to kind of give a whole presentation on our company. It was a 3-day event. And, I was really happy. Sometimes we see opportunities, we don't always take them. And for me, I mean, it was just a great opportunity. I met amazing people and I really stepped it up, confidence wise. It took me to a different place that I wasn't at previously.
That's really neat. And of course, SIEDC, was in the middle of it, as they seem to be. So many connections here on Staten Island. So Kimberly, COVID has had a devastating impact for many small businesses. I wonder what the balance has been in the bank while interest rates are still historically low. We kind of chuckle here as interest rates will creep up 1/8 or 1/4%, and they're still like at 2.75, and people are freaking out like, oh my God, the rates went up to 2.75. The first deal I did a long time ago, I think the interest rate was 11.5 or 11.25%. So yeah, and that was the norm, right? That was a good rate at the time. Have you seen has interest rates kind of carried the day, and are you still seeing a lot of volume on the mortgage side in the business, or has coronavirus slowed things down to a point where it's kind of dragging that volume down?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great question. When I think about our Staten Island market in particular, we've done a really a nice job this past year, even throughout the entire pandemic, of figuring out ways to help our customers in a virtual environment. Lending continues to be a huge need for people, and it's not only for purchasing, right? It's whether I'm refinancing, I can't afford my mortgage anymore because maybe pandemic has impacted my income. I might need some cash out. I might want to purchase another home, right? There's so many different reasons why we need to help our customers with lending. And, this past year, we continue to improve on our mortgage side, particularly in Staten Island. And, maybe the low rates might have helped us a little bit, but it's being there and showing our customers. We did a huge calling effort this entire year because obviously the volume in the branches decreased. And we just touched base with our customers saying, we're here for you. Like, what's going on? How can we help? And a lot of them needed help when it came to mortgages. So being able to set up a virtual call with our customers and our mortgage development officers, was a really big deal. And being able to go paperless and do from beginning to end the whole process without them even coming into a branch really made a difference this past year.
So at Santander, are you offering commercial mortgages as well as residential?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we are there for we look for the owner occupied for businesses to be able to help them with their commercial needs. And then, of course, the consumer side. So
it's amazing that you are talking about, during the pandemic, how you felt it was important to stay in contact with the customer and hindsight's 2020. But just earlier today, we were on a call talking about, kind of the next phase of this virus, right? And how we've all seen, the pictures, wear a mask and social distance, but so few have centered around kind of the impact, the unseen impact, right? And to remind people that we've been through a lot. right? And it's not just us, it's everyone. I feel like we're all profoundly changed from this experience. And we're talking about a campaign where even including visuals in the office to remind people like, hey, your coworker, your colleague, your client, they've gone through a difficult run as well. And we need to be mindful that, it feels like the pressure has been building and building and building. We're social by nature, right? This is so foreign to who we are, especially in a place like Staten Island, where it's such a close-knit community. So it's interesting, and I appreciate that you guys paid close attention during that time, because people really were having a hard go of it, and people were feeling really isolated. And to know that the bank is there for you must have given your clients a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, I mean, we had calls where, there were grandmothers crying on the phone saying that the only people they had talked to in the last 6 months were their children. And thank you for calling me, because, they didn't want to get off the phone. They just wanted that interaction. And it really meant a lot. And we went back to that personal connection. It's not about that we're a bank, but we want to be there for our customers. And, some of, our customers used to come in every single day. They used to go to the doctor's office, stop in the bank, get a quick withdrawal. And that was part of their daily routine. And they lost that this last year. So, that quick phone call to say, James, how you been? How are things going? Really goes a long way. And my team wants to do it. They look forward to those phone calls with their customers, because they really do care.
That's amazing.
Really
as we
is.
continue, talking about this theme, I mentioned earlier that we really got heavily involved with business coaching. And I was wondering, Rebecca, you've kind of taken on a bit of a new role as we saw a need for this type of position. Could you speak a little bit about what you're doing for the company now with the coaching?
Yeah, sure. So, like James said, kind of through this, we found out there were some holes within the company, and we're always trying to improve on what we're doing. And we noticed that there was such a need for this business coaching. James started out doing it first, and then, it had such a profound impact on him. He invited me to participate. And we kind of did a bunch of exercises and found out like how this could benefit our agents, right? Everybody needs, like you said, Kimberly, that personal connection, and to have a cheerleader, right? Regardless, in your corner, even if it's just listening, it has such a profound effect on people to just have an ear, someone who is willing to listen. I mean, even if it's just, this deal didn't go my way, or even if it's exciting news, right? I think if everyone has that kind of support system, it's really been proven that, it can increase morale, it increases revenue within a company, and we're really excited to get it started. I'm actually rolling it out next week within the company. So it's going to be a really exciting thing that we've decided to take on, and I can't wait to see how our agents are going to respond to it. So,
well, it's again had such a massive impact on me that we felt as a way to just kind of distinguish ourselves a little bit, beyond what we do. We thought it would be important to extend some of those tips to our people. Again, with Staten Island being as close knit and as tight of a community as it is, I feel like I've seen, Pamela and Kimberly like everywhere at events, right? You both have played a really big role in the community. I was wondering, Pamela, if you could speak a little bit about some of the philanthropic efforts that you personally and the company has undertaken here in Staten Island over the years.
I can't help it. I love people, and I miss seeing real faces and interactions. And it's so funny because, when you're in the moment, it's like, oh, I'm tired. I don't really want to go to this event. And looking back, it's really what I miss the most, because once you're out and about and you're working with people, it's really amazing. As companies, we try and make contributions as much as we can. I have so many different friends on the island that run not-for-profits or, are behind wonderful organizations that I try and support. Recently, something amazing I did with the Executive Club of Staten Island, another group I'm a part of. I was the president last year. What we did was We're partnering with Meals on Wheels, and we delivered, or we're taking turns, I should say, but I brought my son along Monday, meals to seniors in our community. And it was just such a beautiful day, and having, it's not just the act of delivering the meals, because we don't want to endanger them, and them going to the store could still be an issue, but it was that interaction with people that was just so beautiful, and bringing my son along. I mean, he's just so friendly, so the seniors really took to him, and we had some really beautiful conversations. So it's hard for me to say no. Listen, you can't contribute your time and your money everywhere, but when there's causes that you really feel strongly about, you want to help as much as you can.
No doubt. And I know Kimberly, Santander is obviously, it's a global entity. So the involvement comes at different levels, and I think in different ways. Can you talk a little bit about the PPP program and forbearance opportunities as people were going through these difficult times? What was Santander able to do for its customers?
Yeah, so PPP was definitely new for us, and a huge learning. And as the rounds went on, we definitely improved with the way we were there for our customers. I am so proud that when we went through this third round, the outreach that we had for all of our customers, we were automatically sending them the emails. We also made sure that we had every single branch employee and back office employee ready to answer questions. We were outreaching our customers and asking them if they needed the loan, rather than waiting for our customers to tell us they needed it, which was a really big deal, because a lot of our business customers didn't even know they qualified for a second drawer, and a lot of them needed it. So that outreach this time around was a huge learning for us, and making sure, my team knew the answers. We had so many different ways, resource guys, call centers, to help give everybody the knowledge they needed to help the business customers the way they deserve to be helped. And, it's a continuing process. We gave volunteers to help with the back end from our retail branches. So we might have made our branches short, but we knew we needed that to help the applications go through smoothly. And we all stepped up as a company to really make sure we got this right, because we knew how important it was.
So this, to be fair, I mean, this wasn't just new to you, right? This was new to everybody. Like nobody had ever been in a situation like this where there was this type of a pandemic and this type of a response, and where was the money coming from, and how was it going to be funded, and who did you ask questions to on your level, right? Yeah. For on our side, we just call and yell at the bank because we're stressed and we're worried and we're, fearful and thinking about, what is tomorrow going to bring? And it must have been really difficult being on the other side of that, also having those same anxieties, but trying to handle and help people through this while navigating an enormous bureaucracy and trying to figure out where and how the money would be deployed. I know you guys have done a great job. We've heard it, kind of through our network. So I just wanted to touch on that and applaud you for it, because it genuinely was and is a scary time for everyone. Yeah. So, having that peace of mind certainly helped.
We understood that, this could make or break businesses. And, if we could help our businesses stay open and make it through these hard times, everybody's, they chipped in and said, let's do this together and let's help as many businesses as we could.
Well, I appreciate it. I want to thank both of you for the role that you've played in the community, for being, standing out and standing up and being, such forces in the Staten Island community for folks to look up to and to be proud of. Pamela, in closing, what's the best way or the easiest way for people to get in touch with you to learn more about your services?
Oh, sure. Thank you for saying that, by the way, James. This was really nice, and really getting to know the three of you was great. So the best way to contact me, you could call me at the office, 718-494-6798. You can email me, Pamela@statewidefirecorp.com. I usually give out my cell phone. I'm always accessible, always reachable. So if you need anything, whether it's anything with security, fire related, advice, I love helping people. I love talking to people. So contact me anytime.
Thanks, Pamela. And Kimberly, what's the best way to reach out on your side?
Yeah, so I am out in the field in the branches every day with my team. The email is probably the best way to reach me, just with the pandemic, not really in the office as much as we used to be in the past. So my email is kalthoff with one F, so KALTHOF at santander.us. And any of my branch team members can always get in touch with me.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I want to say thank you to the SIEDC again for making these connections and working with us to highlight Women History Month. It's such an important part, us again being city and state certified WBE. It means as much to us as it does anybody, what both of you are doing for the community. So thanks so much for your time, and everyone out there, stay safe.